How many of you have ever been in a parade? There are a couple of different types of parades. One type of parade is a community parade with dancers and clowns and funny floats. Another type of parade is more solemn and somber. It'll have military personnel and police and marching bands. Sometimes when there's a death of an important or famous person, there's a very somber and serious parade called a cortege. Now, I live in the north end of the Halifax Peninsula, and there are a couple of parades during the year that I really like. The first one is on Canada Day. And on Canada Day, it's a very professional parade because all of the participants in the parade are part of the Nova Scotia Tattoo, and they come from all over the world, and they're very skilled, and it's quite orderly. The other one is the Canada Day Parade, and the Canada Day Parade is a much more community sort of parade. It's got clowns and kids and dogs, and I sometimes feel badly for the folk who are in the marching band who are part of the Canada Day Parade because nobody keeps a beat. So there are all sorts of different parades. On Palm Sunday today, we're beginning to mark the last week of Jesus' life. And that week is bounded on either end by a parade. There's a parade at each end of the last week of Jesus' life. The first parade is quite confused and happy and busy. The second parade at the end of the week is far more solemn and serious, and for Jesus' friends, quite heartbreaking. The first parade is a people's parade, and they waved palm branches like we would wave flags, and they sang songs, and they were happy. The second parade was much more serious and much more controlled. It was soldiers leading people to be executed. And I wonder, had we been there on that Palm Sunday in all that huge mob of people, whether or not we would have noticed Jesus on his donkey. I wonder if you've ever been to a parade and talked about it with somebody else afterwards, and they say, "And did you see?" No, I didn't. But you must have. It was, nope, we were at the same parade, but sometimes our attention goes in different directions. So I'm not sure on that Palm Sunday whether we would have noticed. But Jesus and his group of followers came into Jerusalem in that huge mob of people. Now today, some people are going to be joining the church, but before we talk about that, I want to talk about what Jerusalem was like when Jesus came into town. Passover was the season, and Passover for Jesus' people was like Easter is for us. How many of you are going someplace special next week? You're going traveling. I know some of you are. How many of you are having company? You got people coming. Well, in Jesus' day, the place to be was Jerusalem. Folk who could afford it came from all over the world to be in Jerusalem. And in that period of time, the population of Jerusalem grew 10 times. So I want you to think about your house, where maybe you have 4 people living or 3, and imagine there being 30 or 40 there. Think of your school classroom. 30 kids in your class. Imagine there being 300 in your classroom. Imagine this area with 1,000 to 2,000 people in it. Jerusalem was really, really full. And then the interesting thing, of course, as we know, even though we stuff more people into a building, it doesn't get any bigger. We just get a little bit closer together. Jerusalem was like that. Jerusalem was filled with people. And so Jesus and his friends, with those thousands and thousands of people, came into Jerusalem. And people were waving banners, waving palm branches and singing psalms. It was a happy, just like that, it was a happy, joyful, wonderful time. The beginning of a difficult week. Now, this congregation, Knox United Church, is like a parade as well. And in this parade, everybody who's part of the parade has a role, has a place. From the smallest to the largest, from the youngest to the oldest, you all have a place. You all have a role. Some people cook, and some people sing. Some people teach, and some people repair things. Some people ask lots of questions, and others visit folk. Other people study. Other people welcome folk. The thing about this parade is that unless everybody does something, it won't get done. You each have a role. And if you don't do that, then our parade is missing something. It's sort of like the Santa Claus parade without elves and everything else. It's sort of like a Canada Day parade without the group carrying the flags forward. Our parade is missing you. Now today, some people are going to join this parade, which is Knox United Church, in a specific and special way. They're going to take on being members here. And maybe they already know their place in the parade. Maybe they're still looking for it. But the truth is that unless they do what they do, it won't be done. Because, and this is true for everybody, no one can do what you do just the way you do it. Now, some of you, I know, are long-time members here. And some of you have been around here for quite a while. It may be quite a while since you last thought about your faith commitments. So for the long-time members, the people who have been around here for a while, I have a special task for you. While our people who are transferring and our confirmands make their pledges, I'd like you to be listening to those questions as well. And I'd like you to be thinking about your answer. As they answer, "I will, God being my helper," think about your response. In your response, you might want to renew your commitment to something that you're already doing. You might want to find a new way of expressing your faith. Because for each one of us, God is our helper. God is the one who makes it possible. In fact, it's God who gives us this parade. And God sets the beat, and the tone, and the tempo. And God gives to each and every one of you a role in the parade and says, will you take it up? Will you do what I invite you to do? Where's your part in this wonderful parade? Let those with ears hear the Spirit's word to the church.